everyone. Thank you for tuning in and for watching this presentation on the Predeparture Orientation for the United Kingdom. My name is Heather Schloss, and I am an ISEP Student Services Officer. If you have any questions about the information presented in this presentation, feel free to contact the Student Services Officer at ISEP to assist you. All right, so in today's presentation, we are going to discuss a wide array of topics concerning your program when you're abroad. So these include culture and daily life, academic matters, health and safety, things to know or do before you go, and how to keep in touch with ISEP while you are in your host country. So we can dive on in with life in the United Kingdom. So a bit about the local culture. Each country within the United Kingdom is going to have its own rich culture and heritage. Overall, the main language is English, but there are a wide variety of dialects that are spoken. There's a huge cultural emphasis on sports and a love of sports. There's a rich literature and history of literature within the region, and just generally a very easygoing nature with people within the UK. The UK itself is composed of Great Britain, which includes England, Scotland, and Wales, and Northern Ireland. And it's important to note that the Republic of Ireland is not part of the UK, but it's rather part of the EU. Just something to note. When it comes to daily life in the UK, you have likely heard that the country is often rainy and wet in its climate. It is often overcast and chillier weather, so be sure to pack for that. But there will be days of sunny and beautiful weather outside, so make sure you enjoy those as well. It is English-speaking culture and country, and overall there's a really vibrant and culturally diverse population, which is going to create a unique environment for you to spend your time abroad. There is really easy access to local public transportation, whether it's buses or trains, and a single transit card will work for all types of public transport. The UK also does have a rather lively drinking culture, with pubs or public houses being a popular hangout for locals. The legal age to drink is 18, so if you do choose to consume alcohol, please be responsible. So when it comes to interpersonal relationships in the UK, there are a lot of really popularly discussed topics, whether it's with friends or with acquaintances that you may meet in your day-to-day life. But these include sports, particularly football or soccer, rugby, cricket, politics, of course, social issues, if there's any movies or artistic events, and weather, all very popular topics to discuss. And it's definitely good to note that a lot of people in the UK do like to banter and debate, scrutinize different topics. So prepare yourself to be asked about or challenged even on your own personal or political beliefs, and engage in lively discussion about it. The people in the UK have a very dry and sharp wit, but have a great sense of humor. And overall, whenever you're greeting people, hugs are common among friends, and handshakes are common for a bit more formality. And there are a variety of greetings, from how do you do to you all right. Something just to look forward to, a really, really wonderful culture and lovely people that you will be able to meet in the UK. When it comes to housing, student dormitories, often called halls of residence, are the most common residence for students studying abroad. Your program contract will describe the host site's housing arrangement, whether you're sharing with first-year students called freshers, or other visiting international students, or a combination of both. Your host coordinator can provide more information and detail on that arrangement. And it's also, these housing arrangements are a really great opportunity to meet new friends from the UK or from other international sites, and get to meet new people and learn about different perspectives and backgrounds. But the halls will vary depending on location and what exactly they include, whether they have cooking facilities, laundry, telephone, internet connection, and the common meeting space, what that will look like. So you can definitely talk to your host coordinators about what to expect, but you'll get well acquainted with the halls upon your arrival. All right, meals in the UK. So it is good to note that student discounts are quite popular, so keep an eye out for places that will accept them. There are, of course, the traditional British meals of afternoon and high tea, English breakfast, fish and chips, shepherd's pie. But overall, the UK does have a very eclectic cuisine, which reflects the multicultural population within the UK. Students will find that since that you typically receive a meal stipend as part of an exchange arrangement or as part of a study abroad program, you will have to cook and buy foods on your own. So you'll become a pro at efficient grocery shopping at the local supermarkets. And again, your host coordinator can help you set up those stipends and clarify that arrangement as well. And for restaurant life in the UK, pubs, short for public houses, like I said, they're very popular, often the center of a neighborhood social activity. There will also be tons of coffee shops and cafes, and you can find your local favorite spot. The restaurants can vary from casual mom and pop restaurants to upscale fine dining, and you really do have a wide array across the UK of what you can experience. And in terms of nightlife, the clubs can range from pub-like atmosphere that's a bit more casual to more formal dance venues with multi-floor packed dance floors. So just a wide array of nightlife as well, with a very prevalent DJ culture and live music. And it is important to note, though, because of the array of nightlife opportunities between bars and restaurants, pubs, sometimes the bars will be closing quite earlier at 11 p.m. or restaurants will be closing at 11. So nightlife tends to start a bit earlier than what you may be used to. So just something to consider. Technology in the UK. So when it comes to your phone plan, it's good to check with your provider to see what international plans they offer, but you may also want to consider purchasing a SIM card or a local phone plan. And then in terms of internet and data, the UK will have lots of opportunities for you to connect to Wi-Fi or internet, whether that's across campuses, cafes, pubs. You can check with your housing office at your university for information on how to connect to the internet, but it'll be very common for you to have accessible Wi-Fi throughout the UK as well. Finances in the UK. So one recommendation that we do have is to bring enough pounds sterling or cash to cover your expenses on site during the first few days of your program. It may take several days to actually set up your UK bank account. And even when it's set up, a few more days to get the money deposited. So it's good to have a little bit of money on you for early expenses until you can take advantage of those accounts and stipends. The pound is also known as sterling or quid, and it's the official currency of the UK. Comes in various notes, including 5, 10, 20, 50, and 100 pound notes. And then the pound is also composed of 100 pence with various coins as well. There's a gold colored £1 coin and a gold and silver pound £2 coin. So that's kind of what you'll expect in terms of the cash and the physical money in the UK. It's also good to note that Scotland and Northern Ireland also issue their own currently, but those mainly circulate within their respective countries. English, Scottish, and Northern Irish pounds are equal in value. However, if you are traveling to the Republic of Ireland, it's important to note that the euro is the official currency. Continuing on with finances, so ATMs are frequently called cash points and are widely available in most parts of the country. ATM cards do tend to link with major networks, but they will typically work in the UK, but not all cards will work at British or Scottish banks. So especially if you're traveling, it's good to carry some cash with you in case you can't get to the correct ATM or bank to withdraw money. But make sure that you also contact your bank and credit card companies before you leave to let them know that you're traveling and ask about their international services or any fees you may incur for using your ATM credit card while abroad. Right, when it comes to sports and leisure, like I said, sporting life is very active in the UK. Football or soccer is the most popular sport, with England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland competing as separate countries with their own national teams. And then the English Football League has hundreds of teams across different divisions, and Scotland and Wales have two national football teams or national football leagues that compete. The pinnacle of the league system in England is the English Premier League, which you may have heard of. And other sports that are very popular in the UK include tennis, cricket, rugby, and golf. And there are a lot of internationally recognized tournaments such as Wimbledon or the Golf Open, and Scotland has a particularly fond hold of golf history as it does claim its origin there. Major holidays and vacation periods. So it's not a holiday, but an event to keep in mind is London Fashion Week, which is a major event that happens in February and September, drawing all fashion aficionados to the area. St. Patrick's Day, also quite popular, very popular in Ireland, but a lot of students in the UK partake in the celebrations as well. April Fool's Day is celebrated, so prepare to have a few jokes or pranks as well. And then with a large Christian population, Good Friday and Easter is celebrated, as well as Easter Monday. The Queen's official birthday is the second Monday in June, despite her actual birthday being in April. And then St. Andrew's Day is the Scottish national holiday, which occurs on November 30th. Then, of course, there's Christmas on December 25th and Boxing Day on December 26th. So host coordinators may not be as available as they typically are on these holidays or during the summer time if they're on holiday as well. So just something to consider. Things you may not know. In general, like I said, British humor is often quite dry and sharp. You don't take it too personally, and they do love a good banter. It is quite common to also end a conversation by just standing up to leave and saying right. So expect that, and I'm sure you'll see that at least a few times while you're abroad. It is less common to socialize or greet random strangers. A lot of, especially Americans, can be spotted by smiling, waving, saying hello to strangers as they pass them, and that's not as common in the UK. But in general, also, people in the UK tend to opt for understated or quite neutral reactions. If things are very good or very bad, sometimes they are quite neutral or understated in how they respond or react to them. So culture shock is very real, and it can happen at any time. It's not necessarily going to happen at the beginning of the program. It can happen at any time. And we do have a culture shock handout, which has tips on how to manage and cope with it. There are always the very visible and easy to identify components of culture, food, behavior, religion, language, and those can be confronted, obviously, head on, but then there's a lot of components of culture that will take some time to really understand and appreciate, like the customs and values, general beliefs of a society. So be patient with yourself as you interact with more locals and learn more about the culture. So we do have some reflections for past ISEP students. We won't have to read all of them right now, but especially when referencing these slides later on, they are good pieces of advice on being flexible and creating a new experience and learning about yourself while you're abroad. So definitely check those out when you have a chance as well. All right, so moving on to the academics. Higher education system in the UK. So teaching and grading may be slightly different in the UK than it is in your home country. There is really an emphasis on self-directed study and independent study. So there may be less structured assignments and less assignments in general, but you'll have more substantial reading, which you're expected to do, but you won't have a consequential assignment with every reading necessarily. In general, there are going to be more papers instead of objective or multiple choice exams. And when it comes to enrolling in classes, it may be more difficult to enroll in modules from several different departments. You may just need to focus your classes on one or two departments, which tends to be a bit easier since students take only a few classes while they're in the UK in a typical term. Some local lingo just to know about the higher education vocabulary is that a course refers to a degree plan or program, within a set major. A module refers to specific classes. A joint honors degree is a double major. And then marks refers to grades. Postgraduate is any kind of graduate program or work. School is K through 12 primary education, and college refers to high school. Just something to note as you enter the higher education system in the UK. When it comes to the campus culture, the UK universities have really fantastic organizations and clubs for you to engage with. There's often an orientation week, frequently called Freshers Week, where you can get acquainted with the campus clubs, other students on campus as well, and see what may be interested to you. You can also ask for help from coordinators or tutor professors if you do want to find more opportunities to get involved. There's definitely resources on site that can help direct you to organizations or opportunities to get involved. There are several opportunities to make friends as well. These include sports or student unions and clubs, the dormitories themselves, and local events or activities that may be sponsored by the university or international offices as well. Academics. So specifically in talking about exams and papers, like I said earlier, you may be expected to do a lot more reading outside of class, and then expected to retain the importance or the insight from those readings and apply them to an exam or a paper later on. There are going to be fewer required readings and definite assignments throughout the semester, with larger assignments that happen intermittently or only a few times a semester. There's often an extensive reading list that is introduced at the beginning of the course that's shared with all students that you can read to supplement your understanding of the content and what you're learning. And then students, instead of buying maybe one textbook or two textbooks at the beginning of a class, will often consult a lot of different sources from the library, rather than investing in one or two, and really resource a lot of other texts as well. When it comes to the work itself, you will often write more essays and take fewer objective tests. And for that reason, the final exams and papers do tend to carry much more weight. So self-discipline, self-motivation, and good time management are going to be really key to staying on track and being successful. British students often, they will sit for final exams in May or June that cover the full year, and their grades will determine, the grades for that class will determine the entire class from that exam. So modules are increasingly being offered on a semester basis, but there is an expectation that you can retain and remember and source that information that may have been provided earlier in the semester as well. So academics and the grading system. Assessment methods in the UK do tend to vary depending on the institution, but they generally reflect the UK teaching and teaching style, which is very much more leaning on the exam, written exam or paper front rather than multiple choice exam. The grading scale does go from 1 to 100. But it may be more difficult to obtain a higher grade compared to your home institution. So a lower grade compared to what you're used to may actually reflect a very strong academic performance. And this is because typically when grading, evaluators will begin with 40% and then add from there rather than starting at 100% and deducting from the grade. So it can be quite difficult to achieve very high grades, even though your performance can be very impressive. So grades in general, you can see the grading system here. Anything between a 70% and 100% is considered with distinction, and a 40% is the passing mark for most UK institutions. All right, for the credit system and course load. So for a typical term, students will usually take 3 to 6 modules depending on where you're going. In general, most students will take about 3 to 4. Those modules are often 10, 15, or 20 credits, but in general, students take 60 UK credits per semester. And that's about equivalent to 15 US credits or 30 ECTS. It's important to note that this is the general outline that ISEP does have, but your home university will be the one to decide how many credits each of your classes is worth and what they will transfer back as. So make sure you talk with your home coordinator. The individual modules on your transcript are only going to carry a percentage mark. There's not going to be a letter grade or anything else. And you must follow the instructions from your host coordinator regarding the departure process and checkout process in order to receive your transcript and credits. Registration. All right, so this will generally take place during your on-site orientation. Host coordinators can provide a lot more information on the specific policies and procedures when it comes to registering for classes at your university. Those registration methods may vary, so you want to make sure that you're fully registered for all the classes that you want to take. Courses may need to be adjusted, so be sure to keep an open mind. You may find a fantastic class that you may have not considered before you arrived, so definitely keep an open mind. But once your classes are final, contact your academic advisors from your home university and share with them the classes that you're taking to ensure that you're going to get credit for them. It's always a good idea to save all course materials, and remember that only the classes that you register for are going to be on your official transcript at the end of your program. All right, so class structure and interactions with professors. The modules will often take several different forms, one of which being lectures. Occasionally they are optional, but lectures are a component. Tutorials in which you'll have a smaller group of students meet with the lecturer. Then there's seminars with a larger discussion. And with this setup, sometimes you'll have a tutor and you'll actually engage more with your tutor than you do with the formal professor for the class. So they'll be a great contact for you as well. It's important that you should proactively reach out to professors and classmates if you have questions or need extra help. UK professors won't necessarily reach out to you if you're falling behind, so it's important that you contact them or contact your ISEP coordinator or advisors on site, and they can help if you need extra support or have extra questions about the content as well. The academic calendar in the UK. So generally the autumn term tends to run a bit later, starting in September and running to December or January. Many universities in the UK will have that term stretch over into the winter term, into that January month. And students are responsible for staying until the end of their semester unless they receive specific approval from their host, which can't always be guaranteed. So make sure you're in contact with your host coordinator about your departure plans. The spring term does occur typically around January through May or June, but the end date does vary depending on the university and the exam schedule. And as you may have noticed, the calendar year programs are not available in the UK for ISEP students. Now moving on to health and safety. So we do have several resources available for you within the ISEP portal, your student account. There's the health and safety information, which is going to have some emergency contact info and mental health services or opportunities to seek medical attention at your host site. There's the ISEP country handbook that has general information about health and safety in your host country. And then there will be the specific health and safety pre-departure orientation. Students will have their ISEP student insurance. So please be sure to log in the portal and download your insurance card and make sure you carry it with you at all times. ISEP student health and safety policy is available on our website. And if you do need to take any medications pharmacy, let your student services officer know to ensure that you can either receive them on site or plan to take enough with you for your program. You'll also have an on-site orientation to better acquaint yourself with the services at your university. And there's the health or the ISEP emergency line, which is available 24 hours a day. So that's an important number to know. Personal safety. So just some common sense tips for staying safe while abroad. Pay attention to the security warnings and on-site orientation briefings at your host university. Make sure you're aware and comply with the federal and local laws. Be aware of your surroundings. Just be vigilant, be aware of what's happening around you, and know that pickpocketing or mugging or snatch and grabs can happen. So it's always good to stay in pairs or groups, especially when you're out at night, and to ride in licensed cabs or pre-ordered taxis or car services. It's always good to avoid bad neighborhoods or protests. And if you sense a potentially dangerous situation, remove yourself as soon as you safely can. And if you decide to consume alcohol, please do so in moderation and be safe. Health and safety in the UK specifically. So 999 is the emergency phone number for the UK. Like I said, all students will have ISEP insurance, but if you're there, there's a minimum plan that you must have. For students that are there for a full year, you may have a reduced plan option, but all students will need ISEP insurance. So you can contact the student services officer if you have any questions. Other things to know before you go. When it comes to packing, the apparel for your host site will vary depending on the location and the climate. So make sure you do some research and know what you should be packing that's appropriate for the weather. In this case, an umbrella or raincoat would also be recommended. If you have any toiletries that you're really fond of and want to make sure you have on your program, it's a good idea to bring them with you. It's also a good way to free up space in your suitcase when you return for souvenirs. Make sure you know how you will receive your medication, or if you need to take all of it with you for your program when you depart. Do some research into the electrical needs, the plugs and voltage, and what kind of adapters you may need for your electronics. And make sure that you have paper copies of important documents, but also scan documents and have them accessible online as well. That's always good to have a location where you can download them or save them if you lose a physical copy. For your pre-departure information, there's also going to be a tab on the ISEP portal, and you can read some more pre-departure information there. And it will also outline what you need to bring for your accommodations and what will be provided for you, such as sheets or towels. Last things to do before you go. If you're on ISEP Direct program, make sure you pay the program fee at least 30 days before the start date. Make sure you check your data plan with your phone provider and decide which international plan works best for you. Make sure you know the date and location of your host site orientation. It's a good idea to write down the address of where you're going when you're traveling and carry it on you in the event that your phone dies or you just need easy access to it. And make electronic copies of your important documents and upload them to Google Drive or another storage system so you can access them throughout the program if you do need to. And lastly, keeping in touch. So before you go, it's a good idea to determine how frequently you want to communicate with your friends and family back home, and make sure you contact your family once you arrive safely to your host university. In terms of connecting with ISEP and sharing your story, we do have an ISEP Facebook group that you're welcome to join. And we also have a digital ambassador program where you can share all about your experience in the UK and on your program. So if you are interested in those, let your student services officer know, or you can always contact our Instagram as well. I think that was all that we have for this presentation. So I hope you enjoyed it. You will have the slides accessible to you, but let your student services officer know if you have any other questions. And thank you so much for joining.